Can ChatGPT actually get us seller clients? Can ChatGPT get us listings?
I think that's the wrong question. I think the question is, and the question already has an obvious answer, it's how do we use marketing to get more listings? And then it's, okay, how much of my marketing can be done by AI? Because AI doesn't get you listings. AI is not going to go on a listing appointment. It's not going to show off your awesome personality. AI is all about enabling the marketing that gets you to the table.
Hey there, welcome to the Chris and Garry Show. My name's Chris Scott, joined here by my partner in crime, Garry Kreth, and we're here to talk about all things real estate. We think we know a thing or two about it. We've been selling real estate collectively, or we've been involved with real estate collectively for literally over 50 years. And I think with our special guest today, that's going to put it pretty close to 75 or 80 years collective wisdom around real estate. Let's dig in. But before we do, be sure to like and maybe even comment on this video. Definitely subscribe to our channel. And if you want to take the conversation to the next level, come check us out at thepaperlessagent.com or follow us on Instagram at thepaperlessagent.
Everybody, we are delighted to be joined by Morgan Carey, the founder, CEO of Real Estate Webmasters. He's actually been helping real estate agents and brokers out since 2004 and navigating this whole real estate website craziness. And we're here to talk about something very, very interesting. Chris, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, I'm hoping we get to talk a little bit about ChatGPT, maybe some ChatGPT hacks for those of us in real estate. And the big question I would like to get answered is, can ChatGPT get us listings? Can ChatGPT find us seller clients if we're real estate agents or brokers? And so that's what I want to dive into today.
So Morgan, one thing that I've heard time and time again from real estate agents and brokers is I'm afraid that ChatGPT AI is actually going to take my business from me and I'm not going to have a business any longer. What's your response to this fear that we may have around ChatGPT, AI, et cetera?
You know, it's an interesting question, and it comes up a lot because obviously we talk a lot about AI. And I'm going to start with an almost confirmation of that fear, because the phrase we use is AI will not replace your job. A realtor or a marketer using AI will, right?
Yes.
That's the soundbite. And so the reality is, it's just like any tool, right? And there's always fear and trepidation. If you think about the technology adoption curve, right? There's always fear and trepidation from anyone except the early adopters. And ironically, they always talk about how the early adopters always win, right? And so AI is a new tool, just like the cell phone was a new tool, just like listings online is a new tool, etc. And so it's scary because people don't understand it, and it's powerful, right? People are confirming. People like Elon Musk even are confirming how powerful and how dangerous it is, right? And so people have this very natural response to any new technology. But if you think about just the fundamentals of why people build things. The world is generally based on money. It's generally based on improving profit, improving productivity, improving anything. And so what realtors need to understand is this tool was built to enable people who will use it, right? To make more money, right? To become more efficient, to be better at the things that they're not good at, right? And so AI will absolutely not replace realtors, but realtors who don't embrace any new technology will typically be left behind. And so I don't think AI will replace realtors at all. I think it will enable them. I think it will allow them to do a lot more than they can do today, because it actually, it helps sort of augment their skill set. It helps them do research. It helps them do professional copywriting. It helps them not make mistakes. It helps them be faster, etc. And so definitely not worried about AI replacing realtors, but certain realtors will be replaced by AI using realtors.
We do a lot of training and we get to talk to a lot of people in real estate. And I would say any strategy, any tactic, any campaign, any tool, any technology, no matter what it is, will always come with somebody or many people saying, hey, that won't work because X, Y, Z. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be something as simple as, hey, you should market listings. Well, I don't have any listings right now to market, so that's never going to work for me, right? Like, well, okay, let's keep working through this. But it seems like half the population is always like, no, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with change. No, keep that away from me until we're forced to, where the other half are like, oh, let's roll, at some point willing to roll with it. But I do feel like in real estate, it's so important that we keep an open mind to things that will work or may work for us, as opposed to trying to shut everything down. Because real estate's a very entrepreneurial career. Like whether we accept it or not, we have to take matters in our own hands many times to be able to get business, to be able to get business closed. And so this is one of those cases where if you're shutting down ideas or new technologies or new tools, you're really shutting down your own opportunity, it feels like.
You are, Chris. And the thing is that if you look at why do real estate agents push things aside, the reality is that fear is what is at the base of this kind of AI thing. And fear is nothing more than lack of knowledge. So we don't have the knowledge as to what AI is actually doing, what ChatGPT is actually doing for us. And as real estate agents, like we are so full of fear of things that we don't have knowledge about that we push them off and we're like, this is never going to happen. And the problem is that if we don't accept it, because it's here, it's now, it's real. If we don't accept it and adopt it, others will, and we will lose market share. And that's the problem.
Morgan, I have a question for you. And we kind of touched on it when we talked about how technology won't replace agents, but agents with technology will replace those agents that don't. Before we get into some of the practical uses of how we can use ChatGPT in real estate, but how should we in real estate, those of us who are real estate agents or real estate brokers, how should we be thinking of ChatGPT? How should we be thinking of AI? From a mindset perspective, we touched on it being a tool. We touched on it being something that can be an extension of ourselves. But how would you advise people to lean into this technology?
Well, I mean, as at Real Estate Webmasters, obviously, we have a huge stable of programmers, right? We do a lot of custom programming, and there's a reason for that, right? Programming exists so that you can make things more efficient, so that you can remove redundant tasks, so that you can become better at things. Right? And so they should be thinking about it in the same way, right? ChatGPT is an enablement tool, right? And so they should be making a list of all of the things that they need to do. They know they need to do, right? There are no secrets in real estate marketing. There is no special sauce from a fact perspective that like a Frederick Eklund or a Mauricio Omansky or anyone else has that other agents can't do, right? And folks like yourselves, folks like ourselves, we teach them, right? The list of things you should do, you need to do are known. Make that list and take all the ones you love doing first. Forget about good at. We'll put that second. Take all the ones you love doing first, right? Keep those, right? If you think that you love them, they bring you joy and value in your life, keep them. Next, make a list of the ones that you need to do, but you're not good at, right? And then, and just continue down the list. You've got this list of 10, 20 things. It's not rocket science. And then you start thinking about, are there AI applications or other tools, not just AI, but we're talking about ChatGPT. Are there tools that can enable me to actually do these things as opposed to not doing them? Because that's the big thing, is that what agents typically will do is if they're not great at it and they don't love it, they won't do it at all. And they end up missing a key component of their marketing, right? So, they need to be thinking about it as something that is really good and really easy and really cheap. Agents love all of those things, right? Is it good? Is it easy? Is it cheap? ChatGPT is all three of those things. It's really good, right? It's really easy and it's cheap. And so I really need to look at it, because my alternative is what Garry was talking about before. If I don't use it, I'm going to lose it. I hate to quote the 40-year-old virgin, but the reality is that, you are going to be replaced by someone who uses the tools that the consumer expects, right? And so you should be thinking about AI in those terms.
Is there anything on the list that shouldn't that should never get delegated? I pose this question to both of you guys. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Let's say we make that list of all the things that we do in real estate. Is there anything that goes on there that we should not delegate to anybody else?
It depends. Okay. So it depends on where you are in your career. If you are at the top tier of your career and you have built this legacy of real estate agents who can take care of your business and you are just like pumping out business, you should never go on another listing appointment, never go on another buyer appointment, never deal with any transaction management. Like, you should just delegate that to your people. But that's like, that's less than 1% of the real estate agents. If you want to like elevate up to that, the things you should not be doing, you should not be going on buyer appointments, showing buyers homes, tenants, whatever. That just sucks up time. You should simply be focusing on taking listings. You need to be leveraging your time on taking listings. And then here's the key, is letting all of your marketing be done for you. Letting all of the transaction management be done for you. You should not be doing any of that stuff. If you are, and you're selling like more than probably $5, $6, $7, $10 million in real estate, my question to you is, why? Like, there's so much money you're leaving on the table. So that's what I would say. Morgan?
Well, I want to share a quote first on what you said, because one of our coaches, AJ Hazy from Vantage West Academy, he always teaches his people, your presence is not required, your standard is required. Yes. Right? Which is a huge quote. And people, as they're going into, the list of things I cannot give up, they mistakenly think that they're more valuable than they are. They think that their business only succeeds because they're in it. Right. And then that becomes a barrier for their growth. Right. They just need to learn how to support other people and support other processes and really get out of the way. Right. So
get out of your own way. Right.
Why not? So Chris, to answer your question about what should not be given up, the ability to ensure your standard, that should not be given up. Right. But if it's anything other than that, right, and the ability to ensure your standard, that has more to do with personal accountability, right, which includes holding other people accountable when your standard is not being met, making the right choices and doing the right research on the things that need to be in place, like ChatGPT, et cetera, and then making the decision to actually, you can't do the research. This is what so many people do. They do the research, they find the best tool, they know it's perfect, they hear the price, and then they go choose something 3 levels down because it's cheaper and almost does the same thing, right? That is such a mistake because you are not ensuring your standard. You did the research. You know what the best company is. You know what the best service is. You know who the best hire is. But you pick somebody for 65 grand instead of 70 grand, even though you knew the 70 grand person was the best hire. Like, anywhere in your life, it's about protecting your standard, right? And so that's what you can't give up, is that commitment to your standard. And so I think one of the questions when we bring it back to ChatGPT and AI is it ready yet to meet my standard? And if it is, then I should be using it in my business.
Well, let's get into some of those practical uses. I think there's a lot of common ones out there that get thrown around, like, yeah, you should use it for producing listing descriptions. But I wanted to get in, and maybe we can list as many possible like ways that AI or ChatGPT, but AI can help. What are the different practical uses that are out there? And then, as much as we can, I'd love to be able to answer this question because I know it's a hot topic for everybody, which is, can ChatGPT actually get us seller clients? Can ChatGPT get us listings? And so let's dive in.
Yeah, actually, writing listing descriptions is one of my least favorite uses of AI, but it does speak to that list we were talking about earlier about things you love doing and things you're good at. Realtors very rarely love writing listing descriptions, and they are very rarely good at it, right? And so...
Hey, look, I've been selling real estate for 26 years, and I've bought books, I've researched, I've learned, like, how do I write the best description? And they still all suck. They do.
right? And so I do understand the appeal of it, but the reason professionally as a marketer I don't love it is accuracy and compliance, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about AI or ChatGPT or anything in real estate, we talk about human-assisted AI. We do not believe in pure AI. And the reason why is it's not ready yet. It's not good enough yet. And obviously, real estate is in a category of your money, your life, right? It's one of these categories where, even Google and, Facebook, like if you think about how all the marketing companies have applied very specific rules around how you can communicate, with relation to real estate. It's not just about discrimination. It's about avoiding lawsuits. It's about costing somebody their entire nest egg by making mistakes, et cetera, right? So I think all realtors are trained in their education and should know that their oversight is important. So when we talk about AI, we talk about human-assisted AI, and we talk about the 90-10 rule, right? AI should be able to do about 90% of the work for you, which is huge. We talked about getting time back, right? But let's say we use ChatGPT to write your descriptions, right? Learn the prompts so that you get a great output. So do some studying or have somebody who knows how to do it or use a company who knows how to do it. But you have to apply oversight. And I'll give you a simple example of why ChatGPT needs oversight. It learns from data sets, right? Before the generative process of AI, right? And that's what GPT stands for. It's generative, meaning it can create new information that did not exist in the previous information. It learns from existing information. It learns from data sets. And what we found when we did an analysis of descriptions, as an example, is that one commonality came up more so than any other commonality, and that was granite countertops, right? So you could have a listing, and you could say, write me a listing about a beautiful home in Austin. It has 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a really great yard. And ChatGPT's data set has heard the reference granite countertops in association 98% of the time, because like 98% of homes have granite countertops and people put it in their descriptions, right? So it will go ahead and say, this beautiful home in Austin has an amazing lush green backyard, blah, 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 blah. The kitchen has granite countertops. But what if it doesn't? Right?
So what you're saying is like, this is fantastic for like starting the narrative, but we have to become the editors.
Exactly. You become an editor, not a creator.
Right.
And you commit, if you don't want that process of redoing, stop being so critical and realize your job is only to fix inaccuracy, right? You just got 90% of your time back.
Well, I love what you just said. Say that again.
Your job is to fix inaccuracy. That's it. You want 90% of your time back in your listing descriptions? That's what you need to do.
I've been using it for listing descriptions, and I've tried it several different ways, right? So I've done everything from copy and paste from the MLS and just, because we already just take the data points that were already entered and then just drop that into ChatGPT and say, write me a listing description with all these points in it. And so that's one version. But what I have kind of settled on, which is the one that takes the general least amount of time, is for me to start with just anything. Like even if I could just, because we do a lot of video for our listings. And so even just taking the video transcript and then dropping that into ChatGPT and asking ChatGPT to clean this up, that ends up making what I think are probably the best listing descriptions, because it's still original content, right? It's us showing and telling from the video, that getting dropped into a transcript, and then all ChatGPT doing is massaging that into something that's readable. I still have to edit for accuracy. Like there's, it still will invent stuff that's in the house that I did not say that is in that house.
You become an editor, not the creator. And the creator, that is where most of the time is spent.
Of course.
Editing is so much easier.
Well, actually, it happens before that, right? The creation, there's a big time suck that happens well before the creation, and that's the research, right? If you want to have accurate, compliant content in the first place, you have to do the research. And so back to your original question, of what are some of the practical uses of ChatGPT, right? You are not a better researcher on the internet than ChatGPT, right? Because each piece of research takes time. It's typically a few hours at most, that someone will spend, and that's a lot, or that someone will pay somebody to do, and that's a lot.
Right.
So you're only going to be able to consume a few articles. And most people will take the ones that came to the top and they will assume that Google has already somehow validated them as correct. Whereas ChatGPT has evaluated billions of data points, right? They've done that process you did for 2 hours. They've done the equivalent of 1 billion years of research on that same topic. So their research will be better than yours and it will be instant, right? So you get an increase in quality, you get an increase in accuracy, and you get time back, right? So research, even before production, is one of the critical uses of ChatGPT. Do the research, get the output, evaluate the output before you even start using it for content creation. Because if you can eliminate any inaccuracies in the research, right, or anything you just don't want to talk about, for instance, right? Like, I'll give a great example in real estate. ChatGPT does not understand fair housing law. So it might consume content that talks about demographics in a way that you know you're not allowed to, right? So you, even if the research was correct about an area and it talked about demographics and racial distribution and some other things, you might want to take that out before you ask ChatGPT to go and produce content on it, right? So that's the 90-10. Do your review, become an editor first, cut out the things you don't want. Now you've got a better process for content creation.
Let's get into really specific examples, whether it's content, whether it's marketing, whether it's real estate. I'm curious, more like, what are the different ways you've come across that this is useful for us in real estate? What are the time savers and capabilities that we can, and specific ones that people can benefit from?
Yeah, so I'm going to actually see if I can get screen share to work here. Let's see what we can do. Let me know if you can see.
I believe in your capabilities here, Morgan. There we go. Hi, Rupert.
So we're going to use.
By the way, who is Rupert, and why is Rupert here?
So there's really two kinds of groups of people, or two groups of audiences you should speak to when you're talking about ChatGPT, right? Those that are programming enabled and those that are not, right? And so those that are not programming enabled, meaning they don't have engineering staff, they don't have programmers, etc., they should be thinking about this same use case by using either a tool like Bing's a ChatGPT search assistant, or they can go directly to ChatGPT and use ChatGPT. So their only option is out-of-the-box tools. What Rupert is, he's a robot that Real Estate Webmasters has programmed. Right? We use the OpenAI data set and we use the ChatGPT-4 engine, but we're actually able as programmers to layer in our own secret sauce, our own special stuff. So as we learn things that make the output of ChatGPT better, we're actually able to build it into our robot, make it more specific for real estate or more specific for high producing real estate customers, right? So that's what Rupert is he's a robot that Real Estate Webmasters has programmed to use the ChatGPT framework, but then extend it for real estate. So, but anything I do here, you can do a similar output. You can do a similar thing using ChatGPT-4. So no problem there. So specific use cases. We talked about research, right? We talked about, I'm going to Bali next week to talk about AI actually at the Leading RE Summit. And so one of the things I might want to know is like, maybe if I'm in real estate and I want to attract more real estate customers in Bali, whether they're listing or buyers, I'm going to need to have a bunch of content about Bali, right? So, and I'm going to put some basic prompts in here, but obviously the prompts can be far more robust and should be far more robust if we were doing this for real. Write me a content page on Bali, Indonesia. Include information on real estate, demographics. Think about the things people care about, right? Weather, travel, and history. And add headings for SEO. Why not? And I'm going to hit enter. So basically, Rupert or ChatGPT-4, whatever you're using. By the way, I keep saying ChatGPT-4 because there are versions of ChatGPT. That's the latest version.
It's just like saying Kleenex, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. You can say ChatGPT, that's fine. Or you could just say
or
AI,
tissue.
even easier, right? Because then you can capture things like Jasper AI and a lot of the other tools that are out there. Right. So Rupert's out there now. he understands a lot of the context, right? He knows what a content page is, right? And he understands what all these headings are. So you can see here, he's got headings for introduction. He's got headings for real estate. And you said something before, actually, that I want to touch on. You said that when you're writing real estate descriptions, if you start with something you created, then it becomes unique. That's actually not quite true. You don't need to do that, right? You don't actually have to feed it something unique in order for the output to be unique. The output will actually always be unique. And that's the generative property of GPT, right? So generative means it takes existing information and existing historical facts and data, and it creates something new. So regardless if you start with something that's not unique or if you start with something unique, you will always get a unique output, right? And so that's an important distinction for people to understand. So we could just let him keep writing, and he's going to write. This actually happens faster in the background, but we keep that animation so people can see the cool little, he looks like he's writing stuff. But the reality is this happens in the background in seconds, right?
So all of this is already done.
Yeah.
And it can populate like that.
Exactly. So let's say I wanted to go to my my global MLS website, right, which we actually have. Historically, at Real Estate Webmasters, if you were using a professional copywriter and an SEO person, it would cost you about 4 hours to produce a page. We can now do it in about 20 minutes. And when I say 20 minutes, obviously what we just did only took a few seconds, right? But then there's that human-assisted part, that last 10%, right, where we're going to go and we're going to check it for factual accuracy. We're going to optimize the headings. We're going to change some things, right? But my content is already in here, right?
So you're doing the editing. So you're not only doing the curation, you're doing the editing as well. So the realtor doesn't have to do any of that.
Exactly. So instead of spending 4 hours on this page, having to do all the research and having to professionally write it and then have to put headings and then have to do edits, etc., I'm now just doing the headings and the edits, and it takes me 20 minutes, right? So content production at scale. That prompt is the same prompt I would do for every neighborhood, right? So if you go back and you look at that prompt, and obviously I would do a more robust one if I was doing this for real, you can replace the word Bali with any neighborhood, with any city, right?
Sure.
So you could actually output 1,000 pages in minutes if you wrote a script, right? That said, write me a content page on insert neighborhood name here, include information on real estate demographics, weather, travel, and history.
And this is how you express your knowledge about being a local market master in that local market is
exactly
by taking that information, repurposing, editing first, and then repurposing to your own webpage.
Exactly. So not just expressing from a consumer perspective in terms of building consumer confidence, which answers one of the questions from Chris about how do we use AI to get listings. I think that's the wrong question. I think the question is, and the question already has an obvious answer, it's how do we use marketing to get more listings, right? That's the actual question. And then it's, okay, how much of my marketing can be done by AI, right? Because AI doesn't get you listings, right? AI doesn't, on its own, AI is not going to go on a listing appointment. It's not going to show off your awesome personality. It's not, you know what I mean? Like getting the listing part, AI is all about enabling the marketing that gets you to the table.
And I think that this kind of wraps up the conversation of, will AI ever replace real estate agents? No.
Exactly. No, of course not.
Are there any dangers or things that if you're going to use it as a tool that you should be aware of? Like the false information, I think is a big one. Before we got onto this session, I went to ChatGPT and I asked ChatGPT the question, how do I get more listings? Mm-hmm. And ChatGPT produced a really good response, and it gave me about 5 different strategies. Now, I know enough about ChatGPT to poke the question, to go the next step. So I was like, okay, those are all decent ideas to get listings. Because I was asking ChatGPT how to use ChatGPT to get the listings specifically. Right? I was like, how can you, ChatGPT, become self-aware for a second, get me listings? And it said ChatGPT, and one of the things that said ChatGPT can do is that it could mine information from social media platforms. Mm-hmm. In the response, it said it could do that. Now, I already knew that ChatGPT can't do that.
You
So
cannot. Well, not true.
well,
If you have plugins,
correct.
technically, if
Correct.
you code your own plugin to ingest the social media data or scrape it, then ChatGPT can process.
Yes.
But I
So
left that part out, right?
But I went to the next step. I was like, well, how can ChatGPT mine information from social media platforms? So I asked ChatGPT how it could get that information. And in its second response, it said, unfortunately, I don't have access to information prior to September 2021, so I can't produce that information. And then it gave me some other alternatives of things that I could try out. It didn't mention plugins, interestingly enough. It just gave me a bunch of other ideas. But knowing that to be
that it has plugins yet.
it doesn't know that it doesn't know it can be plugged into the internet quite yet. But I wonder, so the false information is something that we have to be, as editors, we have to be really looking for. Where's ChatGPT making stuff up, right? Because it's language, not necessarily fact. What are some of the other caveats or the other dangers that we should be aware of? Or are there any others?
Yeah, there's lots. Breaking laws. So imagine that for a second you did have the ability to scrape data from social media and you could actually get people's profile information without their permission or knowledge. And then you use ChatGPT to do that. And then you marketed to those people who do not have any awareness and did not give you permission via opt-in. You're in violation of several laws, CAN spam laws, GDPR, etc. Right? Especially it gets worse when you do it to international clients, right? And so you can break the law using a tool like ChatGPT, or let's say intellectual property, right? Let's say you want to start a new portal to take on Zillow, but you don't want to have to go MLS by MLS like they did to get all the listings. And you just said, hey, ChatGPT, go scrape the MLS, steal their listings and put them on my website. Pretty sure you just violated intellectual property law, right?
Pretty sure you're breaking the law. You're going to jail.
I can't wait to see the headline. ChatGPT gets realtor arrested. That's what I'm waiting.
Sent me to jail.
It'll absolutely happen. I have a new client that I just met in Florida a couple of weeks ago, or whenever I was in Florida with Garry.
Oh, that's right.
He texted me and he's like, lawyer cited 6 fake cases made up by ChatGPT. Judge calls it unprecedented. Like, wow. Right. And so, there are many, many risks. Right. But the biggest risk, because I don't actually think if you're a criminal, you're a criminal anyways, right? You're going to use a tool to do criminal activities. And so ChatGPT isn't breaking the law. You are. You're just using a tool to do it. The biggest risk, and I hope this makes it to the podcast, the biggest risk in using ChatGPT incorrectly and not auditing your stuff is looking like a dumbass.
Well, I think that's the last thing that anybody here wants, is to look like a dumbass by using a tool to look like a tool.
Yeah.
There you go. Using a tool.
Circular reference there, Garry. I love it. You just circular reference the whole thing.
Got it. This has been very, very informative, Morgan. Very helpful. And we really, really appreciate your time that you've spent here with us. For those who are interested at taking this conversation deeper with you, what is the best way that they can contact you and contact your team?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm obviously the CEO, so I'm not in sales or anything like that. But they can go to realestatewebmasters.com. They can shortcut it and go to rew.com because we have that one as well. Just fill out a form if you want to know about our services, etc. But if you want to geek out on stuff, hit me up on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever. Right? I'm every night I take my CEO hat off and I just become a nerd who's interested in this stuff like everybody else. And if anyone wants to talk about it, we have a forum that talks about it as well. So you can go in and collaborate with our clients and with our, our friends and folks like yourselves. So
how do they get access to Rupert? How do we access Rupert?
So Rupert currently is REW internal only, right? So our teams use him for our human assisted services. So when our clients hire us to do SEO or blogging or content creation or even the onboarding process, we have been very conservative with our access. Some of our clients do have access to Rupert as beta testers, right? But because we don't want to make our clients look like dumbasses or have ourselves look like dumbasses, we have been very strict and very specific with access. Rupert will be built into the REW content management system inside of 90 days. And so there will be a flyout if you're a customer, where if you go add new page, you can just click a button and Rupert flies out and say, create me a page, Rupert, on this topic. And again, how good you are at prompts will determine how good the content is. Or, hey, Rupert, do some research for me. You can have his little panel with his research on the right-hand side of your content management system and just use that research to type from, right? So you could still be a writer if you want to, but have him do all the research. So he's a research assistant, he's a writer, he's an FAQ generator, he's a blogger. So that is our use case for Rupert right now. And then in the future, of course, if you use our CRM, which most of our customers do, you can even have them fly out and do things like, hey, write me a text to all the people I haven't spoken to in 90 days, just touching base. And he will just go and do it. Right? So he's not a public-facing tool because obviously most of what he's done is custom programmed to make real estate webmasters customers marketing better. So anyone wants to do those things on their own without real estate webmasters, just go to ChatGPT. Learn how to use the prompts. You can go to our forums and ask lots of questions, read lots of blogs, etc. We teach this stuff for free, but you'll get a similar response from ChatGPT 4. It just won't be real estate specific. It won't be as good.
Morgan, thank you. We have deep gratitude for you joining us here tonight. We hope that everybody who watches this video go learn more about real estate webmasters, Morgan Carey, and what Rupert might be able to do for you and what ChatGPT can do for you as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, guys. Great to see you.